everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you my last design for Halloween this year, and it is going to be a rose that has an eyeball in the center. If you wanted to take this concept and make a pair of earrings or a necklace with it, you certainly could, because the rose is made almost entirely off the nail, and then you could do whatever you want with it. I hope you like this one as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well. I'm going to start with an overlay of a really nice shimmery dark green. If you're thinking green and red, this is awfully Christmassy, you know what? That was kind of a thought that went across my head too, but I just felt like the really dark green paired very well with the rose. And then I'm going to add a little bit of an overlay of a black blending over the top to create an ombre between the green and the black. Go back with a little bit more of the green to blend over the black until my ombre is nice and smooth from black to green. I'm going to encapsulate it with a layer of clear acrylic to protect the ombre as well as add strength to this nail. After I have the layer of clear acrylic going all the way down, I'm going to go ahead and file this nail into shape. Depending on your sculpting, hopefully don't do too much shaping. That's always my goal. And after I have it filed, I'm going to set that to the side while I work on the rose. I'm going to grab a small bit of a 4D art gel. This is like a Play-Doh type of a texture or a clay texture. I'm going to roll that into a ball, a nice little sphere. I'm going to take a piece of jewelry wire. I'm going to poke it into my sphere, and then I'm going to fix my ball shape because it got completely disheveled when I tried to put the wire in. After my eyeball is back to a spherical condition, I'm going to cure that in my lamp, and then I'm going to begin sculpting the petals. The first two petals I'm going to sculpt are going to be for what's essentially the eyelids of the eyeball, so don't make them too big, keep them nice and small, and try to keep them rather uniform. The first eyelid that I sculpted, when I went to pick it up, it ripped and it was destroyed, unfortunately. So you'll see that in a moment after after the petals turn matte. Yep, that one ripped. Off to the side it goes. Make a new one. You really want to pick them up once they turn matte. This really pigmented red acrylic, I quickly found out, required a little bit more cure time than what some of my other colors do, so I had to leave them on the nail form backing slightly longer than I normally would. As I am sculpting these petals, not so much these first ones that are like eyelids, but from here on out, I'm actually going to use a two-tone bead of acrylic with sort of a coppery orange color and then my burgundy. The coppery orange color really soaked up quite a bit of the pigment from the burgundy. Like I said, it's a highly pigmented acrylic. So it doesn't look as orange as it does in the jar, but it does add a nice highlight to the flower so that the petals just don't look so flat. Gives them a lot more dimension. After you do those first two, you're going to start working in groupings of 3 and adding each layer as a group of 3. So here's the next one. I'm going to add them. They get slightly bigger as they go, mainly wider. You don't want them to necessarily get much taller, but you definitely want your petals to get wider as you go down the layers. So here's the next one. They don't have to be perfect. This is a natural thing. It's a flower that sees stuff, so it's not going to be perfect. You know, whenever you're sculpting a flower, that's the biggest thing to remember, is it doesn't need to be perfect. Things in nature are not perfect, so as long as, you know, you're enjoying yourself, your flower is going to be beautiful. So I'm going to add the next row. Keep adding rows of petals until you think that it's about the right size. When you've reached that point, go ahead and fill in that burgundy at the very bottom to make sure that it's well attached to your wire. Let that cure, then cut off the extra wire. Attach your flower to the nail with some clear acrylic. You can decide on the angle. You may want it straight up and down. You may want it tipped forward, backwards, whatever that may be. You may want to take this flower and put it on a pair of earrings or a necklace and do something completely non-nail related with it. That is a very valid option. Make sure it's secured to the nail, and then take and add a few more rows of petals around the bottom of it so that there isn't this huge gap between flower and nail. If it is, of course, going on a nail. If it's going on something else, then you may have to use some creativity and make a decision onto how to finish this off. I'm going to add 2 more rows of petals. The second row, this is the final row in this flower, is going to be very thin. Long, but thin. That's going to help keep them kind of tucked under the flower so that they don't make it very large around, but more just fill in that gap at the bottom. Those last 2 rows of petals, make sure that they are more open, so they don't like tuck up around the flower, but they more sit down closer to the nail. After that's done, go ahead and grab your acrylic paint, and you can do the rest of the detailing on here. To highlight the edges of my petals, I'm going to mix red and orange acrylic paint to create a very pretty kind of a scarlety red I'm going to use just the very edge of my brush, and I'm going to drag that across the very edge of the petals. This should give you a pretty standard way of highlighting just the very edge of each petal. Take that and go all the way around the edge of every single petal that is sculpted. Once you get on a groove with it, it doesn't take all of that long. Hopefully your acrylic paint doesn't dry, however. Mine decided to dry. Not such a big deal if it's not a color that you mixed, but if it's a color that you mixed, then you got to go through and mix it again, which again, you know, worst things could happen. So I'm just going to go through and finish highlighting all the edges of those petals. Then I'm going to take and I'm going to add some more detail to the iris of my eye. I made my iris green. That goes along with the background color of the nail. If you were to make this a blue-eyed eyeball, then maybe you'd want the background of the nail to be blue. I'm going to blend that in so it's lighter green in the center, darker green on a very edge little ring. Add the pupil with black, a little highlight with white, and now I'm going to glob on some jewelry gel right around the base of my flower to adhere my crystals in. I felt like this needed a little bit more glam to it. It's a rose, it's glamorous. I'm going to apply some gel sealer over the top of my jewelry gel. Then I'm going to grab all of the red pointy bottom crystals I could find in my stash, and I'm going to press those in. Before I do that quick, I did pick up some of the gel sealer from the nail, and I did add that to the eyeball so the eyeball was nice and shiny. Now I'm going to just begin pressing all of those crystals in. I just switched brands of jewelry gel. This one doesn't seem to hold the crystals in place nearly as well as my previous one did. I don't know if you need to stir it a little bit better. I don't know what. So as you can see, as I'm going through and placing these, I do keep chasing them around and pressing them back into where I wanted them to be. They didn't just stay exactly where I put them. If you find you have this problem, just make sure that you double check your crystals before you put your nail into the lamp, because once it does cure, it's pretty much stuck there. So if you do, you'll see that one was sneaky. That one didn't want to be there. If you do have this problem like I am, go ahead and just double check and then stick them in the lamp really quick. I applied some 3D glaze over the edges of the petals to seal in that highlight and give them just a touch of like a dewy shine. And that's it. I love the way this turned out. I love kind of these slightly spooky but kind of glamorous mixes. Just something that, you know, you can look at and not realize it's Halloween until you look too closely. I hope you like it as much as I do, and I will see you next time. Bye.